All right, BG. Then we'll go to the featherweight division now. And here we saw Jean Silva defeat Bryce Mitchell by second round submission.
Mm-hmm.
So the method of victory extremely surprising, I imagine, for a lot of people here. I thought if anyone was going to get a sub, it would have been Bryce. Jean Silva was more likely to win by KO, of course. But yeah, pretty crazy,
Sorry.
crazy dashstroke the way he locked it up. As Bryce Mitchell speaking in tongues on
Sorry.
the ground there.
Yeah.
But in terms of how the fight played out, BG, what can you tell us here?
Yeah, dude, I was also a bit surprised at the method of finish. I also thought that Jon Snow was going to win by stoppage. I didn't think it was going to be submission. Even that is also a stoppage. I thought he was going to knock him out. But up until that point, Bryce wasn't doing too bad. He really wasn't doing too bad. Just remind me again, when was that knockdown? Was that knockdown in the first round?
The knockdown. Yeah, I think it came in the first round.
Yes, first round. So up until that knockdown, Bryce Mitchell was doing really good. The calf kicks were money for him. The tips and the oblique kicks was money for him. But when they got into the fisticuffs exchanges, John Silva was getting a little bit of the better of him there. And then there was a knockdown that came in the end of that first, close to the end of the first round, and I could see the difference in Bryce Mitchell's face, because then it looked almost like Bryce Mitchell was trying to stay active so that he doesn't get caught in some kind of dangerous situations. I could see it. He was just throwing out jabs and calf kicks, oblique kicks, just staying and now and then getting into an elbow exchange. But he was really trying to stay active enough so that he doesn't really get sucked into a moment where he can be put into danger. Because he wasn't he was shooting in positions that were a bit odd for me, and he couldn't land any of the takedowns. Jean Silva was defending all of those takedowns, and I was like, I could see Bryce Mitchell struggling here now. And a look on his face was like, what do I go through next? What's my next best move here? Because nothing seems to be working on this dude. And John Silva looked like he was getting more comfortable as the fight was progressing. He was smiling, making jokes with Bryce Mitchell talking to him in the middle of that second round before the finish came. So yeah, I think the body language for me is a big thing in a fight. All these guys can fight. All these guys are athletic. They all can throw combinations. They all can throw submissions. But body language indicates a lot in a fight for me. It tells you what's going to happen next. And Bryce Mitchell's body language for me at the end of the first round indicated that there was a little bit of a panic now because nothing's actually working. John Silva is defending my takedowns almost easily. And he appears to be stronger than what I am. And when that goes into your mind, you start panicking. You start realizing, oh, I'm in a fucking fight here. This is not really what I wanted it to be, And yeah, the rest was history because once Bryce Mitchell shot for takedowns, there were two moments before the finish where John Silva shot for that dash choke. He didn't land it in the first round, but he was very close to getting it. So that was like, and when he did it in the second round, it was one of the cleanest dash chokes you will see. Good performance from John Silva. I just think Bryce Mitchell was in his head after that first round, which led to the finish. No, it's not an excuse because you could see he was still trying to make the fight work for him. But John Silva was had one goal in mind, and that was to end Bryce Mitchell. He got that right. So yeah, all done to the fighting nerds.
Yeah, and I think this definitely puts to rest any questions about Jean Silva's takedown defense. So as you can
Yeah.
see, they enter at your own risk, guys. But yeah, again, great performance by Jean Silva. What's next for him, do you think, PG?
As if I remember correctly, he didn't really specifically call out anyone in his post-fight conference. He was just overhyped for his performance and what he did. But look, the dude's unranked. No, is he ranked now?
I
John
mean,
Silva?
he'll probably take Bryce's ranking, possibly.
So he goes into that teen spot, right? He'll probably get number 13. I don't know if he should be fighting Calvin Cater. I don't agree with that. So I think
Uh,
maybe we're gonna see John Silva taking on a Josh Emmett, maybe an
yeah.
Aljamain Sterling. We could see him taking on one of those guys because let's be honest, he is getting fast tracked. He is getting fast tracked. The fighting nerds guys are being heavily considered from the UFC. Not for Dana White privilege, but because they're just fighting really well and they're beating everybody and they're knocking out people. They're ending
The
their
way
fights.
that they're winning, also, yeah, that's, I
Yes,
think,
the
is a big
way
part of it.
it's almost making the UFC go. We can't ignore these guys. We have to do something about this. And I think John Silva is, for me, has done enough to get someone like to jump this Calvin Cater, jump Bryce Mitchell, jump Yusuf Zazal. He jumps all these guys here, and he goes up to like Aljamain Sterling, Ladon Murphy, Arnold Allen situation. Like those are the guys I think will be the next best matchup for him. And I would like to see him fight Little Murphy. If I'm being completely honest with you, I think that would be a sick fight to watch.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very ambitious, but yeah, could happen, could happen. They both are on big
Undefeated.
streaks at the
No,
moment.
no, no.
Yeah,
John Silva has lost. He's lost twice in his career.
but they're both on mad win streaks at the moment. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, it could happen, could happen. The rankings seemingly don't really mean anything these days. But anyway,
yeah.
um, as far as Bryce Mitchell goes, do you think he should fight someone ranked, or should he go back to unranked opponents now and kind of sit as a gatekeeper for his next fight or two?
Mm. Well, Calvin Cater needs to do something to climb back into this uh, mentioned name in the featherweight division, right? So he was on a loss. He lost to Yusuf Zalal. Bryce Mitchell just lost. That could be a matchup for these guys to get back into the contention. Dan Ige lost a few fights. His fight this evening was to get back into that name. So yeah, I think Bryce Mitchell fought Dan Ige already, right? If I'm not mistaken. So I don't know if they would run that one back. Bryce Mitchell versus Calvin Cater for me is the matchup for the two of them to rescue their careers. And then I would say you give Dan Ige, which we'll get to, give him Yusuf Zalal.
Yeah. Bryce Mitchell has beaten Dan Ige by decision.
See, they
Yeah,
fought
that
already.
Yusuf Zalal fight does make sense there, BG. Some
You
of
know
Bruce Mitchell.
what did I say? Oh, my bad, my bad. But anyway, I already moved it for that. We're done with that
We
one.
have been up since 1 a.m., guys, so please excuse any mistakes here. But yeah, yeah. So I think that sorts itself out. Jean Silva fights up to about Little Murphy Max and Bryce
Yeah,
Mitchell, Calvin Cater to see who stays in the division. I think that's a
yeah,
fair
yeah.
resolution there.